responsible for all of these energy drinks that are giving us caffeine highs. Mr. Robin Schmidt.
Yeah! Come on! That's right, he's a high man, I'm a high man. Yes, my name is Robin Schmidt, you also know me as SuperMassive. I am holding a can of Fraz there. It's not the Fraz you got, that's Fraz Original. That's the original one. Put your hands up if you've had a can of Fraz today. Very, very good. This is brand engagement because it's not just a can of Fraz, this is also my business card. There is a QR code on the back. If you scan it, you'll be able to go to a link tree where you can find out what it is that I actually do. Following that panel, it's kind of interesting hearing a lot of the points that I would have brought up in this talk had I done it the way I was intending to do, because I kind of covered everything. There are a few key points that were brought up: privacy around data and traceability of people's history in NFTs. These things get solved by ZK proofs. There's a lot of technology that can solve a lot of the things that were brought up as concerns. And I think it's worth saying that standing from a position where we're worried about privacy, but saying that we're buying Facebook ads, makes you think a little bit. It got spicy. So, I am a content creator, or rather, I'm someone who creates content. Really what I am is a storyteller. I've been a filmmaker for the last 25 years. I've made a feature film, I've come from commercials, music videos, I started in extreme sports, I've done the lot. The thing that I care about is storytelling. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. Steve Jobs said that. And his vision was that this was the person who would set the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come. If you heard that panel, they were talking about experiences. You would have heard them talk about storytelling. In my opinion, those two words have been completely devalued in the last 5 years. No one really can give you a definition of what a story actually is. I go on podcasts a lot. I always ask the host, what do you think story is? So I'm going to give you my definition of story right now so you have something to think about. Not saying it's the best one or the right one, but I don't think you can talk about storytelling and brands love to tell you about the story. Oh, it's the story of my brand. If you don't know what a story actually is. So for me, the story is two things. Setup, payoff. You set something up, there's an element of craft in that. The payoff is how you feel. And that's it, that's all the story is. That can be 2 seconds, it can be 1 second, it can be an hour and a half, doesn't matter. Setup and payoff. And if you talk to stand-up comedians, that is literally everything that they do. So really, I am a storyteller. And when we talk about brands and how they need to engage, so much of that rubbery stuff in between, the interface point, the friction, is about storytelling. And again, that word has been devalued because everything's a story. Everything's a narrative that's folded around media, around Twitter posts, about engagement and retention. It's toxic, but it is changing. So I'm going to give you a little rundown on who I am and why I am maybe qualified to give you this talk. So I run a content studio. We talk about the metaverse, and we are on YouTube. We are 4 months old. And in the first week of January this year, we launched a 10,000 item PFP collection. And I think you're thinking like, he did what? January 2023, deep in the bear market when everything looked wrecked to the balls, we did it. And we sold it out in 24 hours. So we had 4 days to prepare this thing and launch it to the world. We did an incredibly short lead-up time. And on the 4th day, before we dropped the collection, we released a 2-minute trailer that was incredibly cinematic and told the story of our world, but it was live action, it wasn't animation. But the thing that got us to sell out was the 2 years I'd spent at a YouTube channel called The Defi, which is also a news organization that covers DeFi. And I'd spent 2 years building up an audience, a following that liked what I did. That is the reason we sold out. So you can see some of the things that we make here. I ran an ultra marathon in the metaverse, yes, the first person ever to do so. I ran 39 miles but went nowhere on a little thing like this for 9.5 hours. Imagine how boring that is. Just this guy doing this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, boring. Wasn't boring. We did a 9.5-hour live stream and it wasn't boring. Storytelling. Yeah, I'm just going to flex here very briefly. We were above mutant apes, bored apes, and CryptoPunks. Not that it matters, but it matters a little bit at the time. So the reason this is interesting, because you're probably aware of this thing, Fraz. There's a man with a crate of Fraz over there. He'll be walking around giving you a taste of this delicious beverage right now. Don't forget to scan the QR code on the back. It literally is my business card. It's the best business card I've ever had because it's also a drink. You can say that. So the way we create content is we focus on the metaverse. And for me, it was really important that we tell the story of the metaverse from within an environment that felt like the metaverse. So we have a vision of the metaverse which is called Trashland, and it's this wasteland of bad ideas, because that's what the metaverse feels like at the moment. It's just sort of dumped on and scattered things that are half built. And that's a very rich world to build in. So what we did to make it feel more real is we populated it with brands, because when an environment becomes commercialized, it feels a lot more lived in. It feels like there are people there building businesses. So the first one we built was Fraz, not this one, but the original Fraz. But we have Headcrank, which are headphones. We have Instant Foods, which are ramen, which is appropriate for crypto. We have DGAF, which is a clothing brand. And all of these brands live in Trashland. Because they're our own brands, they can sponsor our videos. And we get brand engagement through videos, because I put Fraz in videos whenever I can. It's just there on a table, or it's there, but you can't buy it. And that's how we start to get people thinking about the brands that we're putting together. So here's what we do. We tell compelling stories, we build an audience around those stories, we monetize that relationship, and then we reward our audience for their loyalty, and we own the discourse around the metaverse. That's basically what we're trying to do. And the Web3 version of this is that relationship of building an audience through massively retention-heavy videos. Feels horribly scammy. It feels like dog shit, to be honest with you. It's not the kind of content that I want to make. And so what I'm trying to do with Based is figure out what I call the third pillar of the creator economy, which is build an audience, monetize that audience, share the spoils. What those spoils are and how they are distributed, cannot say anything, because the SEC will cut my knackers off and serve them up with a plate of fava beans. You have to be very careful about what you say there. But the tooling for all of that is coming, and there are different ways to make that happen, but it's really the core of this, otherwise it doesn't work. So there's a cultural shift going on in media at the moment. I don't know if you've noticed it. Things are changing, and they're changing really fast. BuzzFeed News, which is literally a leech on Facebook, is closing. Vice. Remember Vice? Preparing for bankruptcy. And then of course we have ChatGPT, we have Midjourney. The ability to create content at scale, faster and faster and faster. Even if it feels like everybody else's content, you can still make it and deliver it. And of course, TikTok, vertical video, and this. Sorry, zone out there for a second. That's our lives right now, this. Pretty crazy. I don't know if you've noticed the trend on TikTok at the moment, de-influence. People are getting really sick and tired of influencers showing them products, because that's the grift, that's the game. So there's stuff changing in the media environment at the moment. So when I pitch Based to investors, I call us the MTV of the metaverse, because I'm quite old, and I remember a time when MTV was cool, and they made interesting programs, and they disrupted things. Because there was a time when MTV was the new, young, cool kid on the block, and they were able to do stuff that was just completely transformative. And for me, it feels like the metaverse is this new set of pipes for delivering content, for allowing us to engage with people. And yet it's this sort of toxic, weird thing that nobody quite understands. And I'm like, yeah, great. Let's be weird there. Let's try and do things in a different way. Let's try and recreate the way that we consume and create content. And that's why I go back to MTV, because MTV gave us Jackass. If you watch YouTube videos, they are all modeled on what they did at Jackass. It's insane how important that particular program was. And then for me, the thing that makes the metaverse work, and that gives it at least a chance of being a word that you can use in polite conversation without being spat on, is Epic, Tim Sweeney, and UEFM, and Fortnite. This suddenly, you have someone with an incredibly valuable company, with an audience already built in, that is prepared to take on the challenge of owning the metaverse story in the face of a massive battle with Apple, and the face of every tech journalist and YouTuber and gamer wanting to hate on the metaverse and NFTs. That's brave. Tim Sweeney's got balls. So we've embraced this ourselves, and we built what I like to call the holodeck. And if you go to the Can of Fraz, and you scan that QR code, that sweet, sweet QR code, you'll be able to go to our YouTube channel and watch the video where I reveal what we've actually built here. Because when I saw what was possible with Unreal Engine, the thing that stood out to me was real time. Because traditionally, if you want to do animation, or you want to build a video game, it's a long period of time. It takes time to animate characters, it takes time to render them, it takes time to get the lighting right, but this is real time. So in my mind, I had this vision of the thing that I wanted to do, which was take the IP of NFTs, of PFPs. They give you 3D assets, but like, what can you do with them? But like, what if you could take those characters, put them in a world, and film them as if it was real? As if it was as easy as filming with your phone in your pocket. What if you could shoot TikToks with these digital characters just like that? Turns out, really quite difficult. There's ways to do it with a phone and pretty crappy mocap and dumping onto a character, but at every stage of the process it's just really, really hard. But we persevered, and we built this thing called a digital backlot. It's an optical motion capture system. It's the same one they use in Avatar. And we built this weird camera called Ripley, which allows us to do it fully wireless. And if I'm in the volume, I can look at the camera and see the world that I'm in. But I can also be in the world and things can collide with me. I can move to a certain part of the volume and explosions go off. It's wild. I'm interacting with my environment. I'm literally playing it like an instrument. Now this is new. This is different. This is a different way of taking these characters, these worlds, and making them come to life. But again, it's quite difficult. Now the volume has other advantages. We can have more than one person in the volume at the same time. We can have props that are actually tracked to your hands, again, in real time. I will say that word a lot, real time, but it really is the big game here, because what AI is doing is it's taking content and making it possible to do anything, but it can't do it in real time, not yet. But it will assist us in doing other things in the volume. For instance, just generating assets on the fly in response to a prompt in chat. Really interesting stuff. So this is from Tim Sweeney at GDC this year. He says the future open metaverse will be about musicians and music labels and film and television studios who are using virtual production, that's what you just saw, today to build world-class photorealistic content, being able to bring it and launch it playably in the metaverse, timed together with their film and television experiences in an endless stream of awesome content that's open to everybody to participate in. This is not a Web3 project. That's Web3 language coming from Tim Sweeney, CEO of Epic Games. Epic Games, if you didn't know, makes an absolute shit ton of money. Like from Fortnite alone, 5.3, 5.4 billion a year. The gaming industry, worth 300 million. The creator economy, 240 million. I said million, I should have said billion for the gaming industry. 300 billion. This is a lot of money, and if we're thinking back to the death of BuzzFeed News, that's all ad-based revenue. There's no ads in Fortnite. This is gamers buying stuff. There's no ad revenue involved at all. So this is a very different way of doing things. And I'm not saying that it's perfect, I'm just saying that it's an alternative and it's different and it's really, really interesting. So this is the Fortnite opportunity. You've got 70 million active monthly users. 40% of the revenue from that platform is now being given to creators. The caveat to that is that Epic Games is also one of those creators and they have the most popular island in Fortnite. So they're taking some of that money and putting it back in their pockets. But still, it's interesting. And this was a tweet yesterday, Tim Sweeney getting on his angry horse saying, the metaverse is dead, let's organize an online wake so that we, 600 million monthly active users in Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, PUBG, mobile, Sandbox, and VR chat can mourn its past together in real-time 3D. Why this is interesting is because what they're doing is they're building a marketplace. I'm going to skip the Balenciaga slide because I'm sure you've covered that already. They're building a marketplace for assets. So that all of these different things like Sketchfab, like Quixel, Megascans, Unity, anything that's building in 3D can collaborate and use the assets. Now it's not as simple as that. You can't just take a photorealistic Quixel Megascan and dump it in Fortnite because it just won't work. They have to be optimized, but we're on the path to something. And again, I'm going to read the blurb on Fab. It's a new marketplace from Epic Games, giving all digital content creators a single destination to discover, share, buy, and sell digital assets. Our mission is to inspire and enable the next generation of creators to build the emerging metaverse together. Again, this isn't Web3, but it sounds like Web3. And the reason I put Emergence in there is because they are the people building the tooling, a little tiny little SDK that you can plug into Unreal and use Web3 assets in Unreal right now. It's already built and it works. So it's not going to take very long for that to be plugged into UEFN. And if you think about the addressable market just in UEFN, the fact that you can play anybody's island, anybody's experience, and earn XP that can then be brought back into your entire Fortnite experience, it's massive. And we had Kerry earlier talking about digital fashion. Like, this is, it's immense. And it's just a very different way of thinking about brand engagement. But for me, at the moment, the most exciting platform is Unreal Engine, because it's not ad-driven. Not at all. And that is my time. Thank you very much.